Larry Summers bowed out of the race for Fed chair yesterday. He had been apparently President Obama's top pick, it was looking like, to head the Fed. But there had been a strong pushback, and I think this is significant for a number of reasons. It's significant substantively, obviously, in terms of the policy implications of who's Fed chair. David Dane, Sam did a great interview with David Dane a couple of weeks ago explaining the real dangers of a Summers Fed chairmanship from a policy angle, given his previous track record. But it's also there's also a real political lesson here in the sense that I think that this is the first time under the Obama administration that I can think of where the left, both through activists who organized against him, everybody from Occupy SEC, which Allison will talk about, which she's on, to a variety of liberal and progressive groups in DC and grassroots groups and blogs like Daily Kos, and also a number of prominent populist senators who are on the banking committee, like Sherrod Brown, who drafted a letter supporting Janet Yellen, who was the other kind of top contender and the preferred choice of liberals, saying that he wanted Yellen, and a number of Democratic senators indicating that they would not support Summers. This is like the first liberal win on a major issue like that with the administration. This is one of the only areas I could think of where it wasn't centrist Democrats or right-wing Democrats or even a move to be conciliatory with Republicans that impeded something. It was progressives. And I think that that's important in and of itself, and it's indicative of some of the shifts that we've seen since the Obama reelection in the Democratic coalition. Obama himself, we've had this conversation a million times, but he did campaign in a more populist way. He campaigned on a more a progressive message. And then we elected people like Elizabeth Warren, who are very genuine and robust economic progressives, and that matters. And they support people like Sherrod Brown and Bernie Sanders, who are already there, have some genuine progressive politics. Secondly, and I think, regardless of what, Larry Summers has been very strategic. He writes columns in the Financial Times. He actually endorsed and wrote a really positive review of Mark Blyth's book on the dangers of austerity. Sam, of course, had him on several months ago. That's an amazing book. And Larry Summers wrote a really positive review of it for the Financial Times. So Summers is very savvy about positioning himself and kind of mitigating his weaknesses. But the reality of his record, as people from Joseph Stiglitz, among many others, have outlined, is deregulation, income inequality, and pushing deregulation globally, frankly, in both developing countries and in his role in the United States, and also as someone inside the administration who was not robust enough on Wall Street, who was not robust enough on the stimulus, and also someone who accepts the financialization of the economy, who really thinks that we can build prosperity off of a system of basically Wall Street infused betting. So that's on the policy merits. Obviously, these are all the things that led to the crisis we're dealing with. So you don't want the guy who was an architect of the crisis to continue having a role in supposedly leading us out of the crisis. And number two, I think it's just important that someone who played such a formative role in those problems not continue to be rewarded with promotions. Essentially, there's an important cultural message, at least there. I mean, we've already talked again the endless non-criminal accountability of Wall Street. Let's at least have some cultural and career accountability. And I think that the left putting this pressure made that happen with Summers to a degree. Janet Yellen is kind of the preferred candidate of liberals. I think that that's more representative of she's a woman. That's significant, especially given that that's been a problematic area from the Obama administration and also highlighted by Summers' previous misogynistic comments when he was at Harvard. She's been along with Bernanke, doing some things that are more, some degree of monetary stimulus, far from perfect, but something. And she's also known as a consensus builder, and she's also perceived as someone who is not beholden to Wall Street. So that's the kind of preferred choice. The last thing I would add, thank God, they say he's not interested, but apparently the White House had reached out to Tim Geithner, apparently he's not interested in the job. But I think Yellen will get it, and I think that that's probably the best case scenario.
Apparently, though, I was reading Obama is annoyed by the public advocating for Yellen.
I think that,
Annoyed, whatever that
you know,
means.
I don't know. I mean, look, if he's annoyed by that, he should be annoyed by the incredible campaign that people inside the White House pushed for Summers, which was actually built inside the White House on undermining Yellen as an effective position for Fed chair. So if he's annoyed by that, he certainly should be annoyed by what they attempt to do to Yellen, questioning her competence, questioning her leadership capacity, even though she's, by all accounts, an incredibly brilliant, well-respected, experienced economist, and all of those kind of criticisms are, I mean, the gender implications of those things are pretty obvious. Clearly Obama perceives some personal loyalty to Summers, and, I think that there is a culture, obviously, in that White House where, look, Summers is a very, very smart guy. You read his columns, you see him speak, he's very, very bright. And if you have a certain type of a very narrow conception of a type of intellect, a type of technical expertise that you perceive as being paramount and of utmost importance, figures like Summers are very seductive. But look, better he be annoyed than Summers be the next Fed chair. So, but we'll see what happens. But that is a good step and a good political flex for the left. What kind of boggles my mind is just even in some respects, given the nature of the Democratic coalition, the gender stuff. What he said at Harvard as a president of a university was essentially said women are not really intellectually equipped to do math and science. And speaking as someone who isn't intellectually equipped to do math and science, I know. But it's just kind of mind-boggling and really, really, I'm surprised that wasn't more of an impediment. Is my point.